We've got a special report for you tonight. As many of you know, meth is making a mess out of many of our communities. It's a drug that's easy to get hooked on and easy to make, but it's not so easy to get rid of. So when a meth lab in a home is busted, what happens to that home? And more importantly, what happens to those who move in next? News Channel 20's Garrett Berger exposes a loophole in a state law that has many renters in the dark about a home's past history.
Crystal meth. It's a plague in central Illinois, with law enforcement cracking down on dozens of labs in recent years. But if you're renting a home where meth was made, there's no paper or pamphlet your landlord is specifically required to give you.
It's not a required disclosure right now. It's not a requirement by law. Would be liability issues if anybody ever got hurt.
That's Joe Kirby, a realtor and landlord in Christian County, a county hit hard by crystal meth. We also checked with the Illinois Association of Realtors. A spokesman told us there's various case law, local laws, and language in the Real Estate Licensing Act about providing a safe residence that might apply, but there is nothing specifically requiring landlords to disclose a building housed a former meth lab.
When a person makes meth, they use a variety of unsavory ingredients, and the process can create more chemicals, which can contaminate a property, sticking to walls, furniture, floors. And according to the Illinois Department of Public Health, health effects from that can include dizziness, nausea, vomiting, even cancer. The Department of Public Health sends out guidelines for cleaning up former meth labs to properties it's aware of having had labs, at least. But a spokeswoman says the department doesn't have any sort of regulatory authority to ensure those properties are cleaned up, nor does it have an official standard for what's considered cleaned up.
But cleaned up or not, if you want to sell a home that's been used as a lab, you need to disclose it.
That it's the last checkmark question on the residential real property disclosure for the state of Illinois, that whether or not to disclose if methamphetamine has been produced on the site.
But as Rick Baker and his family found, renting is another story.
I don't want any of that stuff around my family, the health risks, everything.
The Baker family moved into this Taylorville home in March, which they're renting. What they didn't know, until we told them, was law enforcement says they found a meth lab there.
I think they should indulge that information. You should have a right to know. That way you have a clear-cut decision whether you want to move into a place or not.
When we asked the property owner why she didn't tell the Bakers about the arrest, she said it was none of their business. But not all people view it that way.
This is kind of where it took place, I guess.
In March, Pamela Muffick was arrested for making meth in a home owned by her mother.
It happened probably once every 2 weeks.
Now she's trying to get the home ready for a renter to move in, who she says knows what happened in the house.
Just to be on the safe side, I plan on washing everything down, repainting. The carpets have already been cleaned. I would want them to know, in case there are any hazards or anything that they would want to be, protected from. You know what I'm saying? That's only right, I think.
But the fact remains, there's no rule we could find or heard of that required a landlord to disclose that. Christian County Sheriff Bruce Kettlecamp said if a house poses a health risk, he feels renters should know.
Really concerns me is the children. The children are affected by this, and we see that all the time when we come onto these meth labs in these houses or whatever.
There are ways to remediate a former lab, including hiring professionals, so even a former meth house could be safe once again.
And it doesn't destroy the property, but it does cause a problem unless it's not taken care of.
Garrett Berger, News Channel 20.
The Illinois Association of Realtors tells us without a clear standard of what is acceptable limits of meth contamination, it's hard to start crafting any law to protect renters. Now, the Department of Health says it does not have any standards for cleanup, nor is it developing any because it does not have the authority to enforce them.